Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here with a perhaps not so long video. Don't have opportunity for a Friday highlight ship future today. Instead, we're going to talk about something else, and that is how to play World of Warships without gimmicks. This isn't going to be a cheesy video where then all I do is I end the video after this after I show uninstalling World of Warships, something like that. This is to give you good authentic advice on how to play World of Warships without gimmicks. You have more and more ships in the game, whether you're the one playing them, like the new experimental ship. I'm not even going to know how to pronounce this, the tier 10 cruiser, which I think I saw on Twitch stream yesterday, Gang playing this, and I'm pretty sure he took 270,000 damage in a tier 10 cruiser with an insane amount of hit points, and that's even without survivability expert. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense. I think probably those who've been playing the game or longer, like myself, like I'm approaching 6 years in the game, and it's just more and more things coming into the game, whether we're talking about combat instructions, burst fire, magical buttons that give you 20% better accuracy. The list just kind of goes on and on and on, and submarines that break any sense of historical realness. Aircraft carriers that have AP skip bombs that do massive damage penetration to the broadside of a ship. So this is a lot of things. So what is my recommendation? How do you play World of Warships without gimmicks with all these things as the game continues to, I guess, develop for better or for worse? And I've talked about this before, and those of you who've been on the channel probably know where I might be going with this. And that's really, it's dropping down to the lower tiers. Now, there was one part of me that I considered tier 7, well, maybe tier 7 you could get away from the gimmicks. Well, then you're going to have ships like Maya, which aren't played very much, but it has a reload booster on it. Not super gimmicky, right? But then you can come over here to the Asturias at tier 7, and it has burst fire, right? And then also if you're playing tier 7, what are you going to see? Probably if you play tier 7, you're probably going to see 9s, right? 8s and 9s perhaps, and then lots of gimmicks, right, being up tiered. Then there's another part of me thought, well, maybe what about tier 6 as an example? Well, then you get things, of course, now like submarines here at tier 6. You could still be seeing tier 7 and tier 8 ships in addition to that. And I think if I come over to the Pan American ship, I don't think they didn't give it the burst fire, but they still give you the combat instructions. And these are only a few ships, of course, that I'm pointing out here at tier 6 that have the ability to be more what you would call gimmick ships in the game. So then really it comes down to perhaps dropping down to tier 5, right? But even at tier 5, you can still see tier 6s and 7s. So, I think in a perfect storm, if the stars align, if you're just playing straight up tier 5, great. I had a good game. I failed to record it, and then the update went through, and I didn't grab the replay. Where I was playing the HMS Agincourt. I was going up against tier 6s, and I think there's some tier 7s. And it was actually a pretty fun game. We kept in mind our ship's strengths, our ship's weaknesses, took advantage of a lot of broadside in the game. But really, when you come down to tier 5, that's really where you'll get away from the gimmicks in the game. And of course, even if you decided to say, hey, I want to do tier 4, which I only have a couple ships at tier 4, so the other tech tree ships or just don't have them. You can come down to Clemson, you can come, or also known as Clubson, Shenyang, there's other good tier 4 boats as well. And you get protected matchmaking, so then you're only going to be seeing up to tier 5, right? And then also, you can all just drop down to tier 2. The Smith is a pretty... it's why I've had did a video on this boat. I think I'll throw it at the end. It's the best $1 you can spend in World of Warships. I don't know if they've increased the price on it. But you can do lots of stuff here at the lower tier. Dursky's a lot of fun. Charleston, St. Louis. But you can get down into these lower tiers and get away from the gimmicks of you find at the upper mid to high tier in the game. It's also just refreshing to have a mental break from the more and more I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily want to say complicatedness of the game, because you have to start keeping in mind of what all do you have at the higher tiers. Like, there's people getting caught off guard now. You know, you have the new experimental ships. I mean, it's new ship syndrome. Like, you get new ships in the game, people have to wrap their minds around them. But like an Italian cruiser with like really strong secondaries, and keep in mind I don't have a secondary commander like built into it, but already 10 kilometers, and we can go out even more. I think with our commander. But then you get, you know, that some of these ships, like these ships focus more on the secondaries, but, you know, Mets, then you get burst fire, so you get these experimental ships that just like a bit overpowered, Viasma, Oregon, and, you know, the list just goes on. There's just a lot. So I just want to have some footage in the background now as I kind of continue to talk on this topic and get ready to wrap it up here just the next few minutes. But when you come down to the lower tiers, like tier 5, like, you know, 4, 3, and 2, it reminds me when I first started playing World of Warships. I mean, one of the things that's really nice about playing the lower tiers is that the gameplay and pace is a lot slower than it is at the upper mid tier to high tier in World of Warships, where you have to be more mindful of lots of things, right? Whether it's very deadly torpedoes from submarines like Gato, however you say the name of the ship. You know, you're getting airstriked by Dutch ships at the same time you're being torpedoed. At the same time, you have a hybrid ship flying his planes in on you, while you have submarine ping, 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 right? Like, there's just so much of that gimmick now. The magical pixie dust. Like, I think I said for 2024, I felt like World of Warships was a world of gimmicks. Now it feels like it's more a world of pixie dust. And I get that it's a game, right? And for those who are saying, Flimsy, you're being unrealistic, it's a video game and that. But one of the things that World of Warships prided itself on, I don't really know if they pride themselves on it back in, as they did back in the day compared to now, was that like it's just this historical accurate game. Play your favorite warships, right? Sail out as a commander on the high seas in your USS Massachusetts. You know, all these things that they really were boasting more about the historical realness of the game, where Wargaming had kind of, then they put themselves in this box, and they've kind of stepped away from this box now because they realized it was a fault, where it was like, if you would argue something like this ship's not historically accurate, then they would be like their own moderators, their own sometimes devs or community managers. You know, if you'd say something, hey, this ship doesn't match historically speaking, you know, then they would reply, well, it's a video game, you should expect some unrealness in the game. You know, valid argument perhaps. Then on the flip side, people would be upset that they nerfed the ship's AA, like less than its historical standard, or unrealistic, right? That because of a video game. And then Wargaming would respond, hey, this is a historical based game, so we're going to try to design some of the ships as historically accurate as possible. So it kind of just constantly would hop back and forth in between these things. And, you know, that's why, you know, I'm almost playing the game 6 years now. I've seen this big transition where we've kind of begun to have much more gimmicks and pixie dust in the game. Especially at the high tiers, and they do it at the high tiers and the upper mid tiers, because that's where, you know, most people play tier 10, most people play tier 9. A lot of people play the high tiers in the game, so that's where they focus a lot of their development in. Like, you follow the money, if you will. What's Wargaming developing? What probably relates around money? So that's where they go to. That's where they lean to. Where really the mid tier to low tier is untouched. You know, for me, it'd be like, I'd be really cool to see a clan battle season at tier 5. Like, that would be pretty awesome, or tier 6, or even tier 4. Like, you know, like, test the skills, not so much of kind of have your ships having all these, like, special things. Like, that would be really neat to me. But my point being, when you come down to the mid to low tier, like, the pace of the game is much slower. You get away from the gimmicks, you get away from the magical pixie dust that the game has become in the 6 years that I've been playing the game. And I understand that Wargaming needs to develop the game, but at the same time, it's kind of weird when certain things fall on deaf ears, right? Where most of the development seems to be very much monetized base, versus actually improving the game state overall. But that's kind of my normal critical voice, if you will, of World of Warships. But the point being, like, you could have these videos like you see in the background, like the Protagony game or the Smith game. It's really fun just coming down. It's much more simple. Yes, you're going to see more bots. I see more bots at tier 5 than I've ever have before, which just sucks because I think it'd be really great as a player base, like, let's make low tier great again. But it's just much more slower paced. You find more positive camaraderie among your team and even the enemy team to an extent when you're talking in chat. So this is a lot of bonuses. So maybe you're getting fed up with the more mid to upper tiers, like let's say tier 6 and up, and the high tiers. Then maybe try to take a step back, come back down to start playing tier 5, play tier 4 if you want the protected matchmaking where you only see 1 tier difference. That'd be incredible great. And I kind of wonder if we'll get to a point in World of Warships where maybe they monetize, like have protected tier matchmaking where you only ever see ships that are 1 tier higher than you. Because it's quite brutal now to go from, if you're playing a tier 8 and then you're running to tier 10 ships in the game. Like, it used to be that gap was a lot smaller back in the day. Now I would argue it's quite wide, quite brutal, honestly. So that's how to play World of Warships without gimmicks. Just come down to the mid to low tier. And just take a walk down memory park. Maybe if you started playing the game, you quickly jumped up to the upper tiers, higher tiers, and then you've been frustrated with the game since. Like, even understanding the core basics of the game, it's best to spend as much more time down at the lower tier, like playing tier 4, tier 5, tier 6 battleships as examples, or cruisers. You gotta get your head wrapped around lots of things in the game and preparing you for more, let's say, again, the tier 6, but tier 7 and up. That is very fast-paced and involves a lot of awareness and all these things. So, that being said, that's all I want to say for today's video. If you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Let me know your comments, your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to add to this conversation, and maybe draw some additional points and some things I didn't say. So until next time, take care.